and I have a chance there if I need to bail. So the weather's not bad, a little chilly, and we will see you later. Got a nice section downhill for a little while. What? Lunch view with you, so check this out. Good evening, everybody. So just wanted to show you what our campsite for our first night. I wanted to 14.5 miles, so longest day ever. So anyway, check back with you tomorrow. But anyway, beautiful Easter morning, everybody. We've come across Kings Falls, and I wanted to share that with you. Pretty cool to see on Easter morning. Catch you later. What's the actual campsite's name? East Rock? East Rock. Plenty of room. Trees that were perfectly spaced for his hammock. So anyway, we've eaten dinner. We woke up early, headed up to the little shelter area. Sanitizer is a must. So anyway, time to have Pop-Tart. See you later.
Welcome to the show, everybody. We're excited to have everybody joining us tonight. We got a special guest on with us. And just to give you an idea what we've been up to. So Rooster and I, the week of Veterans Day, I think it was. Ran out so that I could finish my last section of the Foothills Trail, which was Upper Whitewater Falls to Toxaway. And it also gave Rooster a chance to get out and really see what the Foothills Trail was all about. He had not been up there before. And one of the things we talked about when we were out on that trail was how much we wanted to share as much info as we could about the Foothills Trail, get people out hiking it, get people exposed to it, let them see what a jewel it really honestly is. Rooster and I hike a lot on the AT, but quite honestly, this trail it's different in its own ways. It's really cool trail to be on, and we just thought it'd be cool. So I started thinking about who we could have on, and I had bumped into Andrew just through social media on the Foothills Trail hiking or Facebook page. I think it was. He's one of the moderators up there, and decided that, man, this guy's a wealth of knowledge. We should have him on. So I'd like to welcome Andrew to the show and give Andrew a chance to introduce himself, tell us how he's associated with the trail. So Andrew, take it away, man.
Yep, I'm Andrew Gleason, and I'm one of the board members for the Foothills Trail Conservancy, and been involved, with the Foothills Trail now for about 4 or 5 years with the group, and just love the trail like everybody else does, and can't wait to get out there and enjoy it and work, preserve it, and take care of it.
Yeah, so Andrew's just a wealth of knowledge. And so what we wanted to do was talk about a bunch of different things. We're going to talk about the history of the trail. We're going to talk about things you might experience on the trail, the waterfalls, the campsites. Any questions you have, feel free to hit us up on the Facebook if you're watching us on the Facebook live feed or the YouTube. Rooster will constantly be checking for comments and questions for anybody who there's Trip. He's one of the guys that hikes with us. With anybody who wants to ask a question, especially while we have Andrew's attention. So, Andrew, let's talk a little bit about where this trail is located. And Rooster, can you pull up we'll get to the whole interactive map, but can you just pull that up briefly while Andrew talks to us about
I certainly can.
where the trail's at?
All right. Well, I won't say begins or ends. It has, doesn't have a beginning or an ending, really. It just has two ends. One is at Table Rock State Park, and the other one is at Oconee State Park. Both are in South Carolina, but the trail goes up into North Carolina through Gorges State Park and then comes back down into South Carolina.
And my understanding, and Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, man, because there's so much information out there, is Gorges State Park up in North Carolina is actually not that old, is it, to be a state park?
It's not that old. And I don't know the exact dates, but it started in like 99 or 2000, somewhere in there's when Gorges State Park came into being.
I got you. So while Rooster has this up, man, let's hit on one of what is the biggest points that people seem to argue about on this trail. Am I supposed to go east to west, west to east? Is there one easier?
Oh, Lord.
What do I do?
Don't start the Hatfields and the McCoy feud again. It is a bone of contention with many hikers. There's arguments about it. I've even seen folks literally stop backpackers on the trail and tell them they're going the wrong way.
So just so the viewers know, like I went from Oconee to Table Rock. I was trying to keep the elevation as low as I could without getting too crazy with it. And I think, Andrew, you told us earlier, just by starting at Oconee, we're 500 feet higher.
Yeah, it's about 500 feet or so. I don't know the exact number, but it's at least 500 feet in elevation higher than Table Rock State Park.
I gotcha.
Oconee's up on top of that ridge there already.
Yeah, you can actually see that ridge running on the map there. And so, I can tell you this: when I did the section from Laurel Valley access to Table Rock, and I start to go down Table Rock, I was glad I had gone the way I had gone because it seemed extremely steep coming back up out of Table Rock State Park. Rooster has not experienced that yet. He's experienced some stuff, but not that for sure.
Well, I want to know which way I go.
Yeah.
So. I want to ask some questions. If you don't know, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, how did this trail get started? Like, was it a bunch of different sections put together, or?
Yeah, it just really started out as an idea back in the 60s, the late 60s in particular, and moving into the early 70s about a continuous hiking trail in South Carolina. And of course, there were lots of ideas and where it was going to be and where it would start, where it would end. All kinds of things were tossed around, but the conference, as it was called then, was formed in 1974 as a body that would bring everyone together into one place and be able to discuss what they were going to do. Now, at that time in 1974, there was part of the trail already established, running from Oconee State Park up through Sumter National Forest toward Ellicott Rock. Okay, when you got to the North Carolina line, that's where it ended as far as the Foothills Trail was concerned. And that's in this little brochure here that I shared with you that's from 1975. And if you could pop that up on the screen for just a second, that shows where the trail once went. And it's actually fascinating to look at the map and to study it and to see how different it is today compared to what the trail was in 1975. And we mentioned earlier that if the trail still continued along that original path, the Oconee side would be the notoriously hard side to hike. Because the original part of that trail, it went behind Dodge Mountain there, just as you get to Troy Road access, just before you would get there, and the trail hung a right and descended and went down like 1,100 feet in about a mile and a half down to where Winding Stairs, the bottom of the Winding Stairs trail, then it was called the Winding Stairs Road. And then it climbed right back up it. So there was a elevation gain and loss there, just astronomical at that time. But it didn't stay there long.
Gotcha. So Rooster, you're shaking your head, buddy. What's wrong?
That does not sound like a good time to me, bud.
That's a pretty cool map. It's awesome that you have that piece of history to go back and look at and see where it once went. Can you, I guess, like, how did it grow after that? Like, it was the original, I think you called it a conference. How did the North Carolina section get involved in this sort of thing?
All right. Well, at the time, they're in the the mid 70s into 1980. Duke Energy was working on the Bag Creek project, and it was called Duke Power back then. And so part of their licensing was that they have to give back so much for the land that they take or they flood. And like in the case of Lake Jocassee, they built all the beautiful access points and different things on Lake Kiwi, lots of boat landings and stuff. And then they built a hiking trail over through the Jocassee Gorges in return for the Bag Creek project. And so that was when the conference got established. It worked, with the national forests, with the state parks, with, of course, with Duke Power and different groups to begin to form that trail. And if you read some of the old meeting minutes from back then, you can see where they were discussing different ideas and where the trail was going to go. And each one would come to the meeting and report, how they were doing. And the trail, as we know it basically now, that went from Oconee to Table Rock, it wasn't finished until 1983. Sometime in the late spring is when I think they finally cut the ribbon on it, so to speak. Wow. And now since then, there's been many reroutes.
Reroutes? Did you say reroutes? Because Rooster and I, we won't drag it out. But when Rooster and I were out there, we made several notations on the map of some reroutes that we would like to have lowered and made a whole lot flatter. So
those pointless elevation changes you mentioned before.
And just so our listeners know, we've already brought this up one time before with Andrew, and we're not getting anywhere. So, all right. So that was sort of a brief introduction of the past of the trail. Let's sort of talk about where the trail is now. So something that's pretty important to me, Andrew, and I'm learning more and more as I walk on more and more trails, is that these public land use trails don't necessarily have the funding that they need. Can you briefly talk to us, if it's possible, about how this trail is funded or how it gets its funds for trail maintenance or signage? We'll get to signage. That's a big topic.
And just real quick before we go any further, with regards to the Hatfields and McCoys,
that's Granny herself.
I thought it was. That's why I went on and posted that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
she must be upstairs watching. All right. So the trail is really, you've got the Oconee State Park part of it, and of course Oconee State Park kind of maintains and takes care of it with our help. All right, and then you from up through Sumter National Forest all the way through Nantahala till you get to Whitewater. The Conservancy volunteers, basically, we maintain that. We work with the Forest Service, but really we maintain it and take care of it. Something breaks, we fix it. There has been some times when, the Forest Service, we chip in with each other. We partner on projects. We did some Eagle Scout bridges on the Big Bend Spur Trail a couple of years ago, and they helped pay for the materials for one of the bridges and stuff and provided some manpower. They were good to work with on that. But then once you get on the Whitewater corridor, you pass that sign down there at the state line that says begin the Duke Power portion of the trail. And we're so lucky that I say Duke Power, I'm old, okay? Duke Energy, forgive me. We're so lucky that we have Duke Energy because they pour a lot into that trail. A lot of people don't realize, those big bridges, the suspension bridges, all of that you see through there, 99% of the trees that you see removed or cut from that sign all the way to the Table Rock boundary is done by Duke Energy or their contractor.
Yeah.
Now, we do help them. I partner up, like Stuart Porter. We mentioned him a lot. He works for the contractor, and he and I go out together. Many times we partner up. We work together out there to try to do things.
Gotcha. So, I can't speak highly enough about the bridges that are out there that you mentioned. The bridges are awesome. We've seen busted bridges all over the AT where they, nobody's paying any attention to them. So it's really nice to see these well maintained, or steel, some of those heavy steel bridges. I'm like, how the heck did they get that in here to begin with? And so the trail is maintained well. We see, especially on the social media pages, the Conservancy, maybe it's just the Foothills Facebook page, I don't know, doing a really good job of tracking the blowdowns and sending guys out when they can. And I think you said that's all volunteer work. Is that right?
That's right. Yes, volunteer work. In fact, the more information we can get from people who hike, who just go out there and then report back that, hey, there's a blowdown here, a picture of it is fantastic. That's really what we need. Doesn't mean we're going to run out the next day and get it, but we put it on our plans to go get.
Yeah. So one of the things that Alan noticed without me even saying a lot is how well the trail is marked. And again, that's a volunteer thing. Rooster, could you bring up a picture of one of the trail signs? I'd like to sort of talk about that.
I can't. Just one second.
We got so many pictures.
Yeah. About every 5 or 6 years, you got to go out there and repaint those blazes. They start getting faded.
So, I mean, is that pretty easy? You're just walking by and slapping it on a tree? Are you using the same tree every time? Are you looking for other trees?
You try to use the same tree every time, but if it dies, it's a dead tree, we don't try to use it anymore. And if someone has happened to paint a blaze on like a pine tree or something, a lot of times we try to remove that and put it on a oak tree or something that's going to hold the blaze longer.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so this is a prime example. So there are two different types of signs here. And Andrew, I believe that you are the maker of these not the one on the top and not the one on the bottom, not those plastic looking ones, but the wooden ones. Are you the guy who makes all these?
Well, the one that says Coley Creek Campsite was made by the scout and his father.
Gotcha.
But the directional ones with the arrow and telling you where they go, me and my wife do those. We do them in our garage. Any of the ones you see that say Foothills Trail with like an arrow or 2 arrows, all of that's us.
Yeah, those signs are they're just sweet. I can't tell you. There's another example. Is that you too, Andrew? It looks like
that's the very first one.
Wow, we passed that on our second day the last time we were out. And that's why we have pictures of it. We stopped specifically.
I like to joke that the halfway point was a closely guarded secret for many years.
Now, I've noticed some of them have white arrows on it. Do the white arrows mean anything differently, or are you just switching those out, or you got creative one day, or what?
That's it. We just got creative one day. It come time to, the paint, put the black lettering in, and me and my wife, Granny, we were up there talking, and she said, well, let's paint some of them white. And so we did. And so just for trying it,
Yeah, it sticks out. I've seen the pictures. I don't know if I remember seeing one specifically while I was out there, but I definitely.
No, they weren't there when you hiked.
I got you.
They're new. They just got put out.
Rooster, it looked like you were about to say something. Do we have a question or anything like that?
No. We did get another comment from Andrew's wife saying the halfway point. It's selfie time.
Yeah, selfie time.
Okay, so we've talked about the history of the trail. We talked sort of briefly about what it looks like now. So let's say I'm just a backpacker or a hiker and I'm ready to go out on the trail. There are several different resources, many we'll talk about here, but there's one that Rooster and I used that turned out really well that I think, Andrew, you're the creator of that as well. And that's your interactive map. Can you talk briefly about that? Yeah,
the interactive map. That's something that got started late 2019, early 2020. The idea came about of we needed to get an inventory of all the man-made things that are out there on the trail. And then I said, well, I want to go hike the trail and take a photograph of all of those items, just methodically do it. And then I said, well, then I need the GPS coordinates. And then it became, well, let's just do a plot of the trail. And then that turned into the interactive map with everything you see on it now. It took me about, 6 months of hiking and creating and photograph cataloging to get it all and then put it on Google Maps. And I chose to use Google Maps because it was a free way of doing it. And it didn't cost anybody anything to look at it. And you could add photographs, you could add links to video links or whatever to YouTube so that you could look at stuff.
And this is a QR code that if anybody's got a camera or whatever, you can scan this QR code. If you need to pause it or whatever, once this goes, if you're watching this later, you can scan this and it'll take you straight to the interactive map. That seemed to be the easiest way. It's kind of a long thing to get into a single chat. But anyway, thought I'd throw that up there for everybody.
So so we use this a lot when we were planning our hikes. Even from the beginning, if I remember right, we started messing with it. And if you're one of these guys that does the AT and the CDT and the PCT and all this stuff, this is as close as you can get to any sort of gut hook / far out map that there is. But like Andrew said, and the point that I like about this the most is it's free. It's not going to cost you anything. I've snapped pictures of this thing and put them on my phone, so when I'm out there, I can just look down at my phone and make sure we're at the right spot. If Rooster clicks on a campsite, we'll show you the little videos that Andrew gave you. So if you'll notice right there, Cooley Creek campsite, there's a little link right there that'll take you to a short YouTube video, and it'll show you, where the bear bag chains are, if there's one there, what the campsite generally looks like, and then you can get an idea for yourself. Can I hammock there? Can I tent there? That sort of thing. Is there water nearby? A lot of times you can hear, a lot of these campsites are right near water. They're not dry. You can hear the water running. And I can't tell you how beneficial this was for us when we went out there. There are guidebooks, there's maps. I think the Conservancy sells a lot of them on their website, but that was one of the most helpful resources that we had. And his YouTube clips make it even that much better. So you can check stuff out there. And then Andrew has a YouTube channel as well, where you can see that going from east to west or west to east, the big debate. There's another one on there that's pretty cool about what to take on the trail or not take on the trail, which we're not even going to, that's a story for a whole nother day. Thanks, Rooster. About what to make sure you don't forget when you get to your car. So we'll let you figure that one out on your own, but there's all sorts of stuff. There's, mileage markers on here. There's water sources. You see the waterfalls, the campsites, the bridges, I believe, are on there too, Andrew?
Oh, yes. Yes, right? It's all on there. It's in fact, just what I like to recommend is just turn on the other waypoints, turn on the mileage markers, the water sources, turn it all on. And it clutters it up, but then you zoom in. And the idea is you zoom in on the trail and you can just pick, see right there. So you got a green campsite right there. Which one is that? East Fork?
Fish hatchery.
Fish hatchery. So it's got a little video, and there's 6 pictures that you can look at. And you can get a lot of, you can see everything that's nearby it also.
And it's elevation. And you can see that there's a water source right there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. How about the purple right there below the campsite? There's a purple exclamation mark. So that's going to be an intersection where you might encounter a logging road or something that might confuse you. Click on the photograph. Let's see if it'll come up. All right. So right there behind that sign is an old road that goes up.
Yeah. That
we use for a shortcut to come in and work on the trail or do things. And me and my wife, we put that sign there ourselves.
Gotcha. So awesome. You mentioned fire road. So this was something I thought about when we were out there. So you do cross or walk on the top of a lot of fire roads or logging roads or that sort of thing. It's 2021, so this is probably a difficult question to answer, but I mean, this is all like second or third growth forest, right? Somebody's cleared this sucker out once before in man history, I would assume, but and that brings me, we're talking about fire service roads. This brings me to something that's pretty important right now. Andrew pointed out that this trail currently crosses into North Carolina. And I don't know if South Carolina has one yet right now, but I know North Carolina has one. The Carolinas in general are tinderbox right now. Pilot Mountain was on fire for days. There's been some stuff up near Franklin as well. There were fires all over. So if you get an opportunity to go up on this trail, North Carolina has a burn ban. I believe that's what's going on right now, Andrew. Do you know if South Carolina has put one in place yet?
I don't know if they have one in place or not just yet. I know they've been advising to be careful and use a lot of caution, but I haven't seen, and it's possible they have, and I've just missed it, that they actually have a burn ban.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a drought. November is not usually a dry month for us, but at least in my neck of the woods, I don't know about right here, but it was, you move towards the east and you get closer to Charlotte and some other places. The center of South Carolina, big fat chunk of the east part of North Carolina is in a pretty bad drought. And we could even see it when we were at Joe Cassie a few weeks ago. The water was down considerably. Rooster and I walked out pretty far on one of the little beaches waiting for our boat ride, which again, that's another story for another day that we'll.
We do have another question. Are there any armadillos on the trail?
So this is on my list. So Joel, who's I call Joel Buttons, that's his trail name. They're the guys. And Andrew, you actually met them. You probably don't even realize it. In April, when we went out to start our through hike, they came across you and your wife out on the trail doing some stuff or just hiking. But yeah, he wanted to make sure we asked that question. He saw armadillos on the trail when we were out there.
Yep, they're here.
That is crazy.
We call those possum on a half shell where I come from.
Wait. When you say where I come from, that's two separate things. You mean from the PA or do you mean from Alabama?
No, that would be the Alabama side.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Fair enough. I just lost my train of thought there.
Possum on a half shell do that every time.
So since we're talking about wildlife on the trail, we've seen deer out there, squirrels, chipmunks, all the normal stuff. Last time we were out there, Rooster came across a pretty sizable, I think, bear print on the beach at Toxaway.
Bear print. I thought you were talking about the snake. Hold on.
Yeah, we'll get back to the snake, but the bear. Yeah,
that's not a bear.
Oh.
That is a dog.
Is it really? Oh goodness.
We just lost all credibility. In fact, our number of viewers is plummeting since we made that mistake. Okay, go to the snake real fast. That'll fix this problem.
Yeah, that we know that it's a snake.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we bumped into this copperhead when we were out there, which that's not unusual for the South. And it's been, when it was fairly warm late into November, it still didn't shock me when we saw it. Andrew, other snakes we got to be worried about out there? Are there rattlers on this trail?
Yes, there are timber rattlers out there, but I don't. You rarely see them. Every now and then, somebody on Facebook will post a picture of one that they've seen, but they're not. I personally have never seen one on the Foothills Trail.
I gotcha. What about so we screwed up on our bear print there, but can you talk to us about? I mean, there's got to be bear activity there somewhere, right?
Oh yes, they don't call it Bear Camp Creek and Bear Gap and places like that for no reason. In fact, if we got just a second, I'll share you a quick story about Bear Camp Creek.
Oh yeah,
it's my favorite campsite, and it was also the site of probably two of my personal failures as a backpacker. And was at Bear Camp Creek on different times. So the first time was when I was first getting into backpacking, and I was just so in love with the Foothills Trail. And of course, I'm out there with this huge pack, and I started at Bad Creek and went to Bear Camp Creek. Okay, I'd never been out there before, knew nothing about that place. Hiked 7 miles in and set up camp at Bear Camp Creek and cooked my dinner and all that, and was lounging around. And so let me explore a little bit. And so used to at Bear Camp Creek, there was another little camping area beside it. Okay, just if you turned on the trail like you're going to keep going towards horse pasture on the right, there was another place to camp there. It's not there now. And I wandered into that little campsite, and man, listen, there was clothes slung up in the bushes. There was food wrappers ripped apart. There was fragments of camping gear all over the place, and a path of destruction through this campsite. And obviously a bear had come in there and just wrecked somebody's night by tearing into their food bags and stuff. And they obviously didn't hang their food up. And so here I am. Okay, this is my first time out there. I see all of this going on, and I'm thinking, I am out here, man, in the middle of bear country, and I just ate salmon for dinner. The smell is in the air. They're gonna
smell like a smorgasbord.
Dude, I stayed up all night long, scared to death. Every time you heard anything move outside, you just knew that here they come. I'm at Bear Camp Creek, and I should not be here. So, of course, the night went uneventful. I had hung my food up. Everything was fine. Got up the next morning. But, I never got over that. I said, I'm going to go back there, and I'm going to conquer, this feeling. And so now Bear Camp Creek is like home. I go there. I always want to camp there. I like to just hang out in that place. It's just a wonderful spot. Now, a lot of people don't know that there's an old cemetery nearby there. People used to live right in that area.
Wow.
Where it is, but it's not too far from the camp.
So it's interesting that you bring up the bear part, because Alan and I stayed there. Yep. And we had to stay in a weird spot from a story we won't share here, but we'll share with you later. And it had rained all day that Thursday we were out there. It had poured most of the night, and at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, it stopped raining. And Alan, I hear something. I hear something behind us. Big. To me, it sounds big. Like you said, anything in the woods at night sounds a lot bigger, you know? So my mind is racing, and I'm like, hey, Rooster, you awake over there? Do you hear that? That's coming for us. Like you could hear this thing moving. It was probably a squirrel, chipmunk, who knows what, but it was not a bear. It could have very well have been that. That is a cool campsite. Unfortunately, we didn't get to experience it quite like you did. We had to stay in a spot we weren't real happy with, but it is what it is. Anyway, so Mike, I don't know Mike's name. What was
Jagger? I'm guessing.
Jagger said, I saw a bear when I camped there in 2016. Man, we go to Shenandoah. We're working our way through Shenandoah now, and the black bear population there is huge, and we've yet to see a black bear there. And I don't know. One day we will see one. I'm sure we won't want to see it at the time, but we do want to see one at some point. So
folks are afraid of the bears, especially the ladies who are going to go out there and maybe hike solo or a girls trip or whatever.
Yeah.
And bears, you just have to be smart. Just hang your food up at night, and you won't have any problems. That's why we put some bear cables out there. And if you don't camp in a place where it's a bear cable, get that food off the ground. Just get it hung up. And that's, I know you're not going to get it 100 feet in the air. Just get it off the ground. Get it 10, 15 feet up. Best you can do. Getting it off the ground is the main thing.
And Andrew, that brings up a great point. One of the things that I took a little bit of time before I really started hiking was learning how to properly hang a bear bag.
Yeah.
I use what is called the PCT method, and you can YouTube that if you want to figure out how to do that. And I like that method because it keeps me from having a string tied off somewhere, and yet it hangs that bag at the right height. But just go out there and practice tossing your rope over and everything else, because there's nothing more frustrating than spending all day long, be completely exhausted, and now you can't get the stupid thing over the branch you're looking for. That's just adds insult to injury.
Well, right now, also, we have 10 of the designated campsites have them. Once you get over into the National Forest side, over on the Oconee side, there aren't any because we just still can't get the Forest Service on board with us.
Okay. So like they don't want to, is it a funding issue? Is it they don't believe in it issue? Is it they don't want it in their trees kind of thing?
And it ain't just the bear cable. It's the benches, fire rings, anything. They don't want you to do nothing. Even if we pay for it, we agree to take care of it forever and ever. They don't have to touch it, do nothing. We're responsible for it. We'll sign with our papers. And the answer so far has been no.
Yeah.
We got two more comments. Andrew, your wife said all sticks are snakes unless proven otherwise. That's
my wife would agree. My wife would agree.
So would mine. And also we had a question. Is it best to go in fall or spring? So I don't know if this is a Hatfield and McCoy thing as well, but I thought we ought to at least ask the question.
So I'm going to throw my 2 cents in here because I started in April. I was supposed to do a through hike the week of Easter. I bailed out 2 nights. I wanted a hot shower and some internet, right? And then I went back and kept doing sections. And I'm going to be honest, even though it poured down rain on us the last time we were out there on a Thursday in the beginning of November,
all day long,
it was a fairly warm southern November day. So we're talking about 50s, 60s. Yeah. The next day was a little chill. The cold front came through. It chilled down a little bit. The weather was gorgeous. The trees were beautiful, even with the rain. If I could go back and through hike the whole thing again, which I might, because Rooster wants some more of it, I'm going in the fall. I went in the spring. The spring has, there's some flowers you can see. There's plenty. It seemed to be plenty of water when I was out there that week. Everything's running heavy. The waterfalls are just pouring. If you saw that video at the beginning, King's Fall or King's Creek Fall, I can't remember which one it is. Andrew, you might correct me there.
King Creek.
Okay, was just pouring, and I've heard of people going at other times in the year and not a whole lot of water running over it. But my vote right now today, if I had to go again, is going to be like end of October, beginning of November every time. So, Andrew, do you have an opinion on it?
It's all good. It's all good. You can hike the trail. Honestly, you can hike that trail 8 times a year. In the wintertime, hike it both directions. You'll have 2 different experiences. Same thing in the spring, same thing in the summer, same thing in the fall. you could hike it 8 times a year and have 8 unique experiences on that trail. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I had a love, and I was going to save this to the end, but I'm going to say it. I had a love-hate relationship with this trail because the coming down Cane break to meet up at Toxaway, and then basically Toxaway to Laurel Fork access, I did by myself, and it tried to kill me on a weekend, a Labor Day weekend in September when it was like 85, and I thought it was going to be good. That trail, it tried to kill me, so I won't go out by myself again. And that section, if you know, includes Heartbreak Ridge, which just completely kicked my tail. But when I got off the trail with Rooster and I was done with it, I switched to I'm in love with trail, and I could do this trail over and over again. I could do sections. I could flip it the other way. It stole a piece of my heart, maybe because I was originally born near there in the Spartanburg, Bowling Springs area, which is not completely too far away or out of the realm. And I love my state. So this has fat sections of it are in South Carolina, like we mentioned. Yeah. And I got to see parts of my state. I'd never gone to Coney. I'd always heard about Table Rock. I'd heard people talk about the beauty of Jocassee. I'd never seen it. Yeah. It took, and Alan can vouch for me. When I finished, it was all I could do not to freaking fall apart. I'm about to across Toxaway. I'm headed to the campsite, and it, I shot a video of my last like 30 steps or whatever. I didn't say a word. Like I was blown away by the past 2 days and the original segments that I'd already done to finish it. Man, I love this trail, and that was part of the reason why we wanted to have you on, Andrew.
Well, Chad, I honestly don't know. I mean, and maybe some commenters could say something, but I don't know where else you could go hike 76 miles of trail continuous with the campsites that we have, the views that we have, the high point in South Carolina. I don't know how many waterfalls. There's a dozen, okay? Yeah. Including the highest waterfall on this side of the Mississippi River and the Chattooga River and Lake Jocassee and the remoteness. It's just magnificent, crammed into 76 miles.
Yeah, I've said this before, and I say it not only because of the campsites and the waterfalls, but also the climbs, because there are sections of this trail that just they just flat up, they're not easy.
Oh, right? It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, this trail will kick your tail, and it'll chew you up, spit you back out, and kick your tail again. And I've said this to Rooster. I've said it to all the guys I think on the Old Man Hiking Club that I hike with. I said this to Andrew the other day when we had a little informational call. I would take this 76.2 mile stretch. Some people are going to think I'm crazy. There's going to be 100 mad faces as soon as I say this. And I would put it up against any 76.2 mile stretch of the AT, plain and simple. The stuff you're going to see, the difficulty of it, the campsites. The AT has difficult hills to walk. This does too. I haven't seen a waterfall on the AT yet, and I've got 250, 300 miles with Rooster and with Trip and with Recon Mike, the other guys we get to hike with. The stuff I get to see here just makes you addicted to this trail, and it keeps you hiking to see what the next waterfall looks like, or the next lake, whatever next thing you're going to see. And it makes worth it climbing every one of those hills and every one of those steps. And every one of those little 4x4 treated posts that are nailed into the ground that I never want to see again, but I can't wait to walk on as soon as I can. Rooster, what was your take on it? Like, this was your first time out there.
Yeah, this was my first time. And one of the things I really loved about it was the fact that, first of all, the accessibility of water. Because that's one of the things we've had to camel up and go for some long walks and stuff like that. And that's one of those things where you're never too far from water. At least it seems like it. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the climbs and not so much the downhill, but that's my thing. But yeah, I always say the climbs make me tired, but the downhill injures me. Yeah. But yeah, it was just a great time. And I mean, the bridges, the suspension bridges and everything else like that, just some stuff I haven't had the chance to see in the miles we've done in other places. We do have a couple more questions. Karen Allen asks, are there any sections a lone female shouldn't hike alone?
I wouldn't think so. In fact, one of the questions on my list is this a day hike? Does it require overnight trips? And I think this kind of goes along with it. What was her first name? I don't want to.
It was Karen.
Karen, I'm obviously not a woman, but if my wife said she wanted to go hike this thing, and Andrew could probably speak to this, I think his wife hikes a lot, or with him sometimes at least. I wouldn't feel weird about sending my wife out there to hike by herself if she wanted to on this trail. Not at all.
You're going to encounter way more weirdos at Walmart than you will on the Foothills Trail.
Yeah. Andrew's not lying about that. And so, Andrew, this brings us back to this point? Is it a day hike trail? Is it a through hike trail? Do I have to go camp at all these campsites, or can I easily break this out?
If you wanted to just day hike it, if you want to use the boat shuttle service like Joe Cassie Lake Tours, they'll take you across the lake and put you out or pick you up. You don't mind paying them a little money. You can hike this entire trail, in day hikes if you want to.
Yeah. Could you bring that comment back up there again,
Yes.
Rooster? So one of the things that Mike's talking about, there are various ecosystems, and Rooster pointed this out. The closer, I think, I could be wrong, my directions may be off, but the closer you get to Table Rock, some of the deeper it feels like those gorges get, and you get down in there, and it feels like you're in a rainforest almost. Like, I mean, it's thick, it's green, it's luscious.
Cobb Creek.
Yep.
My absolute favorite part of the trail.
And especially, is that the creek that's in Table Rock when you're coming down? But
Cobb Creek is between Canebrake and Bear Gap. The Bear Gap campsite and the Canebrake boat access on the lake.
This may not be it, but
it's just blanketed in Oconee bells, and there's this beautiful rock formation that comes up out of the creek that gets photographed by everybody who walks by it. And it just looks like a place where Smurfs and ought to be running around and fairies flying through the air. And that's my favorite place on the trail. In fact, I took my wife across the lake in the boat before she ever hiked that section. And just to hike her from Canebrake in there and us eat lunch and her see that, because that's the place on the trail for me personally. I don't get into the big views or the waterfalls so much. It's those places that are just so primeval.
Yeah, Rooster, will you bring that back up again?
Sure.
Because that's a prime example. So this is not the spot that Andrew is talking about, but if you'll notice in this picture, this is November. It's green. It's lush. But as you get closer to even when you get closer to Table Rock and you're starting to come out through there, it almost feels like you're in one of those zoo enclosures where they're talking about the rainforest. It's dark. Everything's wet. There's water pouring down through this creek that runs through there. There are just so many different little ecosystems, like the viewer mentioned there earlier. I think his name was Mike. That is just another reason to be out on this trail. We talked about water. Water is everywhere. It felt like there's Chip Cranford chiming in, fell in love with Lake Jocassee in the 80s. Most beautiful area in South Carolina. I don't disagree with him on that. That lake is gorgeous. Joseph said may have to do a winter hike. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, Joe's one of our big volunteers. In fact, some of the benches and stuff, they're like at Virginia Hawkins. Man, he broke his back carrying that wood in there to help build them benches.
I bet. I specifically are those the benches that are like halfway up, or are those the benches that are at the campsite that are right there?
The campsite.
The campsite. Yeah.
Now Duke Energy put that bench. It's halfway, like the one that's on Heartbreak Ridge.
Yeah.
There's a bench there about halfway up, and then there's another one just like it at Virginia Hawkins, and those were put there back in the day.
I am intimately familiar with the one on Heartbreak Ridge. I have spent some time there. Yeah, that was the trip that tried to kill me. All right, so we talked about a lot of different things there. So we talked about the history of the trail. We talked about the trail present day. Andrew, we're going to wrap this up pretty quickly here, but let's talk about the future of the trail. What does the future of this trail look like?
Well, one of the big projects that's going to be coming up that we're going to do on the trail is at Hilliard Falls. There's a nice big camping area right in there. And so we're going to go in there to Hilliard Falls and do several things. We're going to improve that area and make a better campsite there. And it's going to be called the Glenn Hilliard Falls Campsite, whose Hilliard Falls is named after. And Glenn was the very first chairman of the Foothills Trail Conference and the really the driving force that brought all these groups together and got so much done back in the late 70s and early 80s. So and you just wouldn't believe how much he has done for the Conservancy even now.
Yeah. So Rooster's showing you Hilliard Falls. At least that was as close as we got to it. If you go check out Andrew's YouTube page, he has a pretty sweet video where him and his wife hiked there, spent the night, hiked back out, had their little puppy dog with them, I believe, if I remember right.
Yeah, 2018.
So that's a cool video. So a couple other items that are on my list. I believe, stop me if I'm wrong, I don't know if it runs over the top of it or it actually runs beside it. The Palmetto Trail hooks up somewhere. If you don't know, the Palmetto Trail runs from the mountains down to Charleston, South Carolina. There's some sections in there you got to walk that are on the road, but I think the mountain section is pretty much set. Does that cross the Foothills Trail in any place?
Just they've got a passage that comes up near Sassafras.
Yeah.
Like if you go to Sassafras Access and you hike towards Table Rock, about 0.8 of a mile, and that's where it hooks up at, and it comes back to Sassafras and then follows the spur trail then that goes towards Caesar's Head.
I gotcha. Okay. And Caesar's Head, if you guys don't know, is it a state park too?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's another spot that you can hike down to the Foothills Trail. I think there's like a 15 or 20 mile section. Andrew and I talked about it the other day, actually, that you can get back down to the Foothills Trail. Rooster, any other questions out there or comments?
No, we had Brian Vogel said that you had Daphne, his wife, at Waterfalls, that she wants him to take her there. And so I thought I'd go ahead and just do that for her.
Yeah. So this is Upper Whitewater Falls. This is Rooster and I got there and it was raining. This picture was taken in the rain. I didn't really know what to say when I saw this. It's just gorgeous.
It's hard to say anything after climbing these stairs to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, can we go back to the reroutes? Can we do the reroute section again? Because this, no. In this particular case, there was a reroute. You didn't tell me about it until there's another way to get there, I think. Yeah, from that parking lot. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, I needed that other end of the section. I needed those,
Yeah, I could have met you at the waterfall.
Okay, so
Chad, before we leave off of waterfalls, let me just say that please, 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 you folks who go out there and hike, be careful around waterfalls. We have had so many deaths, so many injuries. Whatever you do, stay away from the waterfalls. Don't get up there and try to take a selfie at the top of Laurel Fork Falls or some nonsense like that. Don't do it. We had 2 people die at Laurel Fork Falls up at that campsite in 1 year. 2 people.
Yeah, one was a young lady that I think it was like 2018 or something, maybe, that died.
19, something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's been, you just got to be careful there.
Yeah, and that you can see, Andrew mentioned you can get these shuttle boats that'll go grab you from Toxaway and some other places. You can get a shuttle boat from those places that will just take you to see the waterfalls. They'll just drive around the lake. You can see some of the ones that land there if that's your thing, sort of like Daphne was saying. So this is a great question from Caleb, and it's actually one of the last ones on my list. How can people volunteer to help with the trail maintenance, and how can people, if they just, do they just join the Conservancy if they want to give some money, or what's the best way to do those 2 things?
Dues is a fantastic way. The membership dues is part of how we have our money to operate and maintain the trail. We talked earlier about maintaining the trail. Where do we get our money from? It's from dues, membership dues, guidebook sales, map sales, T-shirts, and donations. And that's it,
Gotcha.
And so that's how we operate. So like in Caleb's question there, if you want to volunteer, you can join the Conservancy or you can just email maintenance@foothillstrail.org.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Maintenance@foothillstrail.org.
We'll try to get that put up when we post the video on Facebook later.
Yeah, we'll add you to the email list, and then whenever we have a group volunteer activity, you'll get an email several weeks beforehand.
So, Andrew, we could probably talk for another hour, but I think at some point people are going to start to fall asleep on us. So one of the things we like to do for everybody when we have a guest on is we like to do 5 for 5 questions. So we're going to ask you 5 questions. all hiking related, just to get to know you a little bit better. So here we go. So favorite section of that trail? Do you have a favorite section?
Favorite section would be the Big Meadow, anywhere from Laurel Valley to Bad Creek.
To Bad Creek, yeah. Which Rooster, that's coming. He gave you the same things, but flipped them the other way from what we just did. So you crossed through a fat chunk of that already. Yep. Favorite piece of gear when out backpacking?
Oh man, my little folding chair probably.
You just made Rooster's day because we started carrying chairs.
Yeah, it weighs maybe a pound, 14 ounces, like the one that Shug recommends you use,
Oh yeah.
Thank you for putting that up. But yeah, that thing is worth carrying. When me and my wife go, she has one, I have one. And listen, even if at camp, like if you're a hammock camper like me, and we use that chair for like a table beside the hammock.
Yep.
It's fantastic. You sit your stuff on it.
Yep.
All right. So you just took one of the questions off my list. So hammock or tent? You're obviously a hammock guy.
Yeah, man. I ain't laying on that ground.
You are after our heart.
Yeah, I'm too old to be laying on that ground.
Amen.
All right. Two more. Favorite meal on the trail?
Favorite meal. I like to get like Nora's pasta sides.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of Alfredo thing, and then a little small can of smoked oysters. Let me tell you, man, you put those two together out on the trail, magic.
So I'll share a little tidbit of info with you. We interviewed a guy with Gregory Packs, the backpacking company, back a while ago, and this he's an awesome dude. But he told us, and Rooster, you tell me if I'm wrong, he carries Wagyu beef and was it wine or something, cheese, all this stuff up. We're like, no, we're not doing that.
I think he said his base weight for his most of his hikes is about 56 pounds. That's a little more than I'm willing to do.
All right. So last question, and then we'll wrap this train wreck up. Trail runners or boots, man? Do you have a preference on your footwear?
I've tried both. My favorite thing is just go get a pair of just some kind of, I don't want to say a trail runner, but I'll just go get a pair of comfortable shoes like you could use for walking or whatever that has a good, strong tread on it, an aggressive tread, a low top shoe. Really, I found that the socks are more important than the shoes anyway for me. I've got that kind of foot that, I get a 9.5 shoe and it works.
Gotcha. All right. So just a few last little points. You can check out the Foothills Trail hiking on Facebook. There's a lot of info up there that will help you. And there's a lot of people up there that'll help you too. Mike, what was that? Did I miss something?
We'll
get to that. So you can check it out there, foothillstrail.org. You can join the Conservancy there. You can see the stuff they got for sale up there. That's pretty cool. Any of the documents or anything you need as far as like the books or the maps that might help you, that's up there. Don't forget about Andrew's interactive map. We'll figure out a way to link that when we post this back up on the Facebook page after it's done recording. What am I forgetting, guys? Am I forgetting anything?
I can't think of anything, and I'll go ahead and show that QR code first if anybody wants to grab it one more time for the interactive map.
Yep. Okay. And guys, you can't download that map. Okay, it's free, but it's meant for you to look at. It's for planning your trip before you go. If you do have cell service out there, you can bring it up. In fact, let me bring up one point on that interactive map. Is there are places on there that show cell service, and with me and my wife, we thru hiked it back last April. And I did a Facebook post every day from the trail for 7 days and posted pictures. But there are places you can get service, good service, and there's places where you're just not going to get anything.
Yeah.
And here it's under other waypoints, and he's got it marked with a brown cell phone right there.
Yeah, you can actually see one.
Yeah.
Yep, and all of those are with Verizon. If you got AT&T or something else, good luck to you. I don't know what that
is. So what I would do is I would just scroll in and do a screenshot and take it with me and just pull it up, and then I can, slide it around and figure out where I want to go. Okay. So I think that's it, man. I can't express to you enough, Andrew, how excited I am that you came on and talked to us and shared this information. I hope we helped some people. Yeah. I want to thank you for the signs you do, for anything you do for the trail to help keep it going and make it known. I can't tell you enough, especially that day I walked off the trail and I fell back in love with the Foothills Trail, how important it is starting to become to me. So, and hopefully soon we'll get Rooster all hooked up and get him out there to finish the rest of that trail and get Trip and Recon. Say that again, Andrew.
I said, come on, Rooster, let's go.
Yeah.
All right, man.
So anyway, that's it. I appreciate everybody joining us. If you don't know what we're about, it's Sasquatch Backpacking. You can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on YouTube. Most of the social platforms. We got a little bonfire shop going where we sell some T-shirts and stuff, just to keep this platform from going. We mainly focus on any sort of hiking. We try to focus for the bigger guy. Rooster and I are kind of fairly guys, although Rooster's slowly starting to lose a bunch of weight on me, and I'm starting to get a little jealous about it. But we focus on gear for the bigger hiker. You know, tearing down some of those stereotypes that would convince people not to hike. And this is a great trail to go out and learn how to hike off of, to backpack on, to stretch your legs, to get ready for the AT. We didn't even talk about that. There's a lot of people who come through hike this thing to get ready for the AT.
Yes, sir.
And so I appreciate Andrew's time. I appreciate everybody who watched. Any other questions or comments, Rooster, before we?
Nope. I think we're good, buddy.
Okay, well, after that, we'll just sign off. This will get posted back up to my page. Andrew will hopefully save it and put it up on there. It'll be on YouTube channel too. So go check it out. And I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you. Have a good night,
everybody.
Bye-bye.